Hello, this is RNK Cards and Collectibles doing a PSA reveal. This is only my second box I've submitted. My first box I submitted was a couple weeks ago, and it was mainly football and a little bit of baseball. This is my second submission. This features 1980s baseball and football. I think there's two basketball cards at the very end, but mostly this is a baseball card submission. Just keep in mind this was back last October. Prices were a lot lower. PSA prices back then were $10 a card, so not a big investment back then. I submitted, I went through and looked at some of the 80s era sets that I had. These sets I've had for probably 30 years, so they've been sitting in albums for quite a long time. So now they went to PSA and they're back, and we're going to do a reveal. I will admit I have seen the grades on these, but I have not seen the cards yet, of course, so it'll be a semi-blind reveal. As I mentioned, this really features 1980s. I think the earliest is 1982. It'll go through 82 through 86 in the baseball, and then in football, I think they begin in 82, and I think the latest ones might be 89. So football is a little bit different. I'll get through some of these. Order they're going to put us in, we'll have to see what order they're in once we take them out of the boxes. As I mentioned, this is a 50-card order. I know watching a lot of commentators, the grades have been getting a little bit tougher with PSA. We're going to see how tough the grades really are. And the new PSA, I should call them. As I mentioned, I'm not sure what order they're in now, so we'll get rid of this box. Okay, and we'll go through and see how we did. See how, like I said, this is only the second box I ever submitted, so my grading knowledge was not really up to par at that point. But I thought these cards looked pretty clean. Okay. Or actually, this is actually the last one. Let me put this one aside right now. So in order, that would be the very last one. And that was a shorter box. And I think the second box. Of course, I picked the last one as the one I need. I'm going to put it in semi-order where I submitted. Okay. Oh, we can't start with that one on top. We're gonna have some suspense here. Okay, so the first one is we're gonna look at looks like 83 baseball. The first one up is Dennis Eckersley, Hall of Famer Dennis Eckersley, in a Gem Mint 10. So we start off with a 10, very good to start with. Put it on the side. The second card is actually going to be an 83 traded Darryl Strawberry card. This one I thought had a really good chance for a 10. I said some of these grades surprised me both directions. This one actually I thought had a chance for a 10, and it came back lower than expected. Came back a near mint 8 on Darryl Strawberry. Back to 83 tops Ron Guidry. Came back a 8.5. The next one is an all-star card of Robin Yount. It came back a mint 9 for Robin Yount, Hall of Famer. And this 80s set was cards I submitted were mainly Hall of Famers, a few stars, and a few rookie cards for this. You know, some of these aren't real high-end cards, of course. These are all early 80s. Next one is a 83 Dale Murphy. Came back an 8, near mint 8 on Dale Murphy. As I mentioned, he's not a Hall of Famer, but this did feature a lot of the Hall of Famers and stars back in the early 80s. The next one is another All-Star card. This is Gary Carter, 83 Gary Carter All-Star. Came back a 9 for Gary Carter. The next one is one of the rookie cards. As I said, he had a decent career, but not a Hall of Famer by any stretch. Frank Viola, this is his rookie card. It came back in 8.5. I know PSA doesn't give a lot of half grades, so I seem to see that 8.5s a little more frequently than other grades on these. Next, we're going to get into an 82. I think I only submitted 2 82s. When I looked at my sets, it seemed that my 83 set was probably the cleanest set, so you'll see probably more cards than 83, and you'll see a little bit better grades than 83. The 82 is a tough set for centering, and I only submitted 2 cards, I think, for 82. And I went through the entire set, too, so there wasn't a lot of good ones. Kirk Gibson came back a near mint 8. This is his, I believe it's his second year card on Kirk Gibson. And the other card is actually, believe it or not, a baseball card of a former basketball player, Danny Ainge. Came back a gem mint 10. Danny Ainge did play for the Blue Jays at least a couple years during his during his Boston Celtic years that he played in the NBA. But Danny Ainge did. I thought that was just a cool card to submit because his two-sport thing. Next, we're in 84s. I'm going to put this one near the bottom because this is my... Next is some 84s. The 84s is probably my second best of those years. I did submit quite a few 84s as well. 83s and 84s were the 2 years I submitted the most. 85 was, I said a few in 85, they weren't too bad. The 86s I probably shouldn't have sent in. The 86s, you know, have that really tough black border, and I kind of got hammered on those ones. So these start some 84s. Fergie Jenkins, Hall of Famer. Came back a mint 9. Bruce Sutter, another Hall of Famer, came back a mint 9 as well. Bert Blyleven, Hall of Famer, came back a near mint 8.5. And we're going to skip around a little bit back to the 83s. Eddie Murray, I believe this one was a 9. Let me double check. Eddie Murray was a mint 9. Tim Raines, Hall of Famer, is another mint 9. It was in a 9 run. I know PSA has given out a lot of 9s lately. Some of these 9s I thought had a chance for 10s, but you know, it's the grading now. We have to live with what they're doing, whether it's harder or not remains to be seen. So Tim Raines is a 9. Another Robin Yount, this is his regular 83. We went through his All-Star already. That also got a mint 9. And then one that I was a little bit surprised on the other direction, I actually didn't think this had really a good chance for a really good grade, but next is an 83 Nolan Ryan, and it did come back a gem mint 10. I thought it was a solid card, but I know it seems that the superstars are graded a little bit harder, and I thought this one definitely had a more likelihood for a 9, but I was obviously pleased to see a Nolan Ryan come back as a 10. You'll see a little streak here. I had a few cards in a row that came back really strong, so this happened to be the first of them, was the Nolan Ryan, which is of that 83 set. Outside of the 3 rookies, of course, I didn't submit the Gwynn or the Boggs or the Sandberg. My examples of those weren't too strong, so I didn't submit those. But the Nolan Ryan would probably be maybe the fourth best card in that set, and it came back a gem mint 10. The next one is Andre Dawson. Once again, I was in a mini streak going, and I got another 10 there, another gem mint 10 for Hall of Famer Andre Dawson in 83. And finally, the streak ends at this next card. The next card is an 83 Pete Rose, and it also came back a gem mint 10. This is obviously Pete Rose in his Phillies uniform. He had obviously got traded in the late 70s to early 80s from the Reds. So Pete Rose came back at gem mint 10 as well. So I had 3 10s in a row on the 83s. And the last card is the beginning of the 84s. And this is another one I was kind of surprised in when I submitted it. I thought it might have a chance for a 9, hoping for a 10, of course. And then it's the 84 iconic rookie card of Don Mattingly, and it came back a gem mint 10. Once again, I wasn't sure. I thought it looked pretty clean, but with PSA's grading, you never know A lot of 9s look like 10s and 10s look like 9s, so this did come back a Gem Mint 10. So pretty good first box. As I mentioned, I got a few of the 83s that came back. I had that 3 in a row, and I was going through the grades, and I saw the Ryan, Dawson, and Rose all together. I was pretty excited, but then reality set in, and I start getting a string of 9s, like I said before. The second box, as I mentioned, is going to have some football mixed with baseball. I think there's still a few more baseball that are coming in. The first football one is a 1983 Dan Fouts. It came back in 8.5. The next card I thought had a real good chance for a 10. I really liked this card when I submitted it. But looking at the back, I do see, a little bit of a touch of white on the back is a 83 Joe Montana card. I thought I had a chance for a 10. It came back a 8.5, so I was off quite a bit on that one. As I mentioned, I was wrong in both directions a few times. This is the 83 Montana. But looking at the back now, like I said, this was only the second submission I did, so I did, I made some rookie mistakes, and I think on the back, you can even see some of this. There's a little bit of whiting on the corners, a little touch on the corners there, so that's probably why it got downgraded. I think I was concentrating on the centering. I thought the centering was really strong on this, but the back of the card, I can see why it did not get a grade higher than an 8.5. Next is an 83 Drew Pearson, who's a recent Hall of Famer. It just made the Hall of Fame just in the last year. It came back in mint 9. Once again, I thought centering was pretty good on this one, but as I mentioned, PSA's being tough, and not all the good centering cards come back is what you'd like. The next card I thought was another chance I thought potentially for a 10 was the 83 Topps Walter Payton. It came back in mint 9. Once again, I thought the centering was really strong. The surface I thought was as good as it could get back in 83. Not sure what they maybe saw in the back, potentially something on the back that prevented it from being a 10, but obviously I'll take a 9 as well with Payton. Next is an 83 Ronnie Lott. This came back a near mint 8.5. This one I knew didn't have a chance for a 10. The top to bottom centering is off a little bit, and left to right looks pretty good. Might be a little bit strong on the right, but definitely not a 10 card. I didn't really think it would be a 10 on that for Ronnie Lott. Next is I submitted a few 82 footballs. The one is a rookie card of Chris Collinsworth. I thought this had a good chance for a 10, and it did get a 10. This was a Gem Mint 10, 82 Chris Collinsworth rookie card. He's not a Hall of Famer, but obviously I watched his career growing up, and he was a solid player for the years he did play in the NFL. And of course, his presence on football as a commentator's been there for a long, long time. But Chris Collinsworth in a Gem Mint 10. Jumping back into baseball, here's some of the cards that I wish I didn't submit. Is the 86. The 86 Topps Baseball is a very tough set because of the borders. That top black border has a lot of chipping. It's very easy to get some chipping on that. And actually, this card wasn't centered the best either. It's pretty good on left to right, but top to bottom, I think it's off a little bit. Did get a mint 9 though, and I think on the 86, pretty happy with a mint 9 on 86 because of the tough borders. The next is another 86, Fernando Valenzuela. Of course, he's not a Hall of Famer, but still a very good pitcher in his day. That actually got a 7, which was probably one of my worst scores. Not sure, well, I guess the corners might be a little bit, you could see a little bit of white in the one corner. Centering, it's definitely a little bit on the, I guess the right side's a little bit wider, so the center wasn't perfect. I didn't think this was a 10 at all. I was hoping probably for an 8 or 9, and it did get a 7, so that was not a good one on my part. Obviously, not a big demand for Fernando 7s out there. The next is Dave Parker. Just was one of my favorite players growing up, so I submitted the 86, and it did get an 8, so slightly better than the Kirby. But once again, very tough card. The 86 cards, as I mentioned, the ones I sent in, I probably should have not sent them in because they are very, very tough. And the back of this card is not centered well either. You could see that. and there's some issues, I think, with some of the corners. So it got grade it deserved, definitely the 86 Parker on a near mint 8. Next is Dwight Gooden, same 86 Topps baseball. It got an 8 as well, near mint 8. Once again, this is just a handful. As I mentioned, I went through my entire binder that's been sitting on a bookshelf for probably 30 years and went through and tried to pick out the best of the 86 and whether they were either at least a Hall of Famer or at least a star. Gooden was definitely a star back then, but it did get a near mint 8. Next, and I think this might be the last 86. Thank goodness, because I'm not doing so good on 86s. Tony Perez, he also got an 8. So I think the Puckett then might have been my only, going back. Yeah, Puckett was the only 9 I got, and I did get some 8s, and I got a 7. So the 86 was a rough era, but it did get this one did get a near mint 8. Moving to 85, I mentioned I submitted a few 85s. These were tough as well. I just didn't have a good feel for my 85 set as I did for maybe 83, 84. But I did get a good grade on this one. Alan Trammell, Hall of Famer, did come back a Gem Mint 10. Once again, I was surprised on this. The centering, I think, is good. Honestly, I don't think the centering is 50-50 all the way around. I think there's definitely some at least 55-45 centering on this, so it's not a perfect card, but PSA was a little bit generous on this one, I think, and did give me a 10 on that. The next is an 85 Reggie Jackson. Once again, big fan of Reggie Jackson. I thought this card had a good chance for a potential 10. Centering's not perfect. Definitely top to bottom is not perfect. It came back a mint 9 on Reggie. Overall good card, but once again, tough to get 10s, and my 85 set just wasn't really confident on. The next is a rookie card, Brett Saberhagen. This came back at 8.5. This one did have some centering issues, and I think there's maybe even in the corner, one of the corners I think was a little bit nicked, so very tough to get a good grade on this one, but it is a Brett Saberhagen rookie card, and it came back to 8.5. Next card I have a funny story on, the George Brett card. This is back to 84. I was at a hobby store and looking through, and I had a set, and I said, well, if I could find a better card than mine, I'll submit that. And I went through, and this particular card store had about 15 George Bretts, and I went through, and I thought I picked out the best of them. So I spent a lot of time looking at least 15 different George Bretts. The one I picked came back a 9, so I couldn't do any better, I guess. I tried to look for the best one, and it still came back a 9. So this card was not from my original set. I actually found because what I did is when I pulled all these cards out of my sets, I still like my complete set, so I have replaced them. The next one is a Gary Carter, 84. Once again, came back a mint 9 as well. Hall of Famer Gary Carter. Next was a Harold Baines in an 84. It did come back a Gem Mint 10 on the 84 Harold Baines. And of course, if I have Baines, I need to have Tim Raines. And Tim Raines came back a mint 9. And the last one in this second box, 84 Pete Rose. I thought this has a reasonable chance for a PSA 10. It came back a mint 9. I thought this was a pretty good sample. I thought the corner is good, but once again, the 84, the issue in 84, if you look at the back with that blue border, is it's very easy to be chipped as well. So that blue border is a tough one on the 84 for the back. So overall, pretty good box there. Like I said, my biggest surprise was on the first box was with the Manley. I thought that had maybe a chance for a 9 or a 10, and it came back a 10. And finally, the last box is going to feature some football and actually a few basketball cards. We'll skip to the basketball. Football, this is an 89 traded Troy Aikman card. Came back a Gem Mint 10. This is his rookie card in Topps. The Topps traded came back a 10, PSA 10. Derek Thomas in the same year, 89 traded. Came back a mint 9. Derek Thomas, another Hall of Famer. The 1989 regular set from Michael Irvin rookie card came back a Gem Mint 10 on Michael Irvin. a Hall of Famer. Next is, now we're moving into Pro Set, I believe. This is an 89 Topps Pro Set. Just for some reference, I submitted my last box a lot of 89 Score football, and I had a really bad grade. My worst grade on the Score football was an 8 with Thurman Thomas. So I'm holding same thing this year, or this time with the Pro Set, and it came back a 7. So not so good at Thurman Thomas. I've not had good luck with him in my last 2 submissions. Came back a 7. The next card, though, I was pleasantly surprised. Once again, I didn't think this had a chance for a 10, but the same era card, 1989 Pro Set Football for Barry Sanders, came back a Gem Mint 10. I thought it was solid, but of course that red border is always difficult, so I wasn't sure how that would grade. It did come back a Gem Mint 10, so happy with the Barry Sanders. Makes up for I sent an 89 Score in my last box, and I thought it had a really good chance for a 10. It came back a 9, so this is a little bit of redemption. Much rather had the Score as a PSA 10 and not the Pro Set, but oh well. Next is 87. I had a couple good luck with 87 football. I had a pretty good set there. Once again, like I said, these cards have sat in albums for over 30 years, so they were protected in a binder only for a number of years. I pulled out the Walter Payton. Walter Payton came back at Gem Mint 10. As I mentioned, I got on the 83. I was hoping for the 83 being a 10, but it didn't happen. So I guess this is consolation. I got an 87 Topps Football Payton with a PSA 10. The next is Herschel Walker. I guess it's his rookie card if you don't count his USFL days. Herschel Walker, it came back at Mint 9. This is once again 89 Topps Football. Or sorry, 87 Topps Football. I said 89. 87 Topps Football. And the next one is Joe Montana. Once again, as I mentioned, I submitted to 83. Montana and Peyton, hopefully we get a 10s. I got 9s, but the 87s, another 10. So I got a 10 on Joe Montana, 87 Topps Football. Not a particularly tough set. Still a decent set. I have bought some cards. I did open up a box of these recently, but really not really good luck with centering on most of them. Next is a back to 83, last 2 cards, 83 Topps Football Hall of Famer Dan Hampton. Came back in Mint 9 on Dan Hampton, who's a Hall of Famer. And finally, the very last card, just one of the players I really liked playing in his day, Hall of Famer, not a particular huge star. Jack Youngblood came back in 8.5. This is an 83 Topps. This is the last card in the set. So overall, pretty pleased with the order. I think, as I mentioned, my last order, I had submitted 55 cards, and I think I got 4 or 5 PSA 10s. This submission had 50 cards. 15 came back 10s, so a pretty good 30% gem rate, which is something I was striving for. Anything above 10% I was actually striving for. And finally, the PSA 9s, I think there were 19 of them. So there were, combined, 34 either 10s or 9s out of 50, which is a pretty good submission. As I mentioned, this was only the second bulk order I've ever submitted to PSA. So hopefully you enjoyed the cards. Any comments, feel free to share them. I'll try to respond. If you like the video, hit the like button, hit subscribe. I hope to have more of these videos. I do have another 9 or 10 boxes of PSA that'll be coming hopefully in the next month or so. The next 2 boxes I have will feature the Jordan era. I know that was a quarterly special a number of months ago. So you'll see a lot of basketball in the last 2 sets. Actually, I skipped over 2 cards. Forgive me about that. I did have 2 more cards. These were the 2 Jordan cards. As I mentioned, I start sending a lot of Jordan cards in after my second box. So I do have 2 more. This is a 92 Upper Deck Michael Jordan. Came back at Mint 9. And finally, the last one is just a card I thought was a good-looking card. It was not much value to it. It's a 2006 Fleer Hot Prospects Michael Jordan. It came back a Gem 10. So that's my last 2 cards. I'm sorry about that. And once again, if you like this video, subscribe. I do definitely have more videos coming out in the next few months with my next order. Take care. And once again, this is R&K Cards and Collectibles.